as it breaks from the perspective you can trust.
LN 24/7 News, where the story goes, we go.
Well, it's a very beautiful Tuesday morning, and of course, welcome you to today's edition of the program this morning, showing live here on LN 24/7. So it's a beautiful Tuesday morning. It feels good to be right back in this seat.
Yes. Someone was missing last week.
Indeed. Well, I am Precious Evangelist. Good to have you back.
Indeed. I'm Zoe McDarlington Esada. Great to be here. Great to have you be here as well. It's the second day in the new month. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah. July 2nd.
Congratulations. Indeed. If you haven't heard me say it, I said it yesterday. Welcome to the new month. We do have a lot to be grateful for. In spite of what it is, against all the odds, you are here, and that's worth being grateful for, I think.
And then, over the weekend, I had a conversation with someone, and I said, in spite of it all,
in spite of it,
as a country and as a people, we are still standing. I said, yeah, there may be a lot of things that are not right, at the moment, but the truth is, there are things we take for granted. For instance, you have a roof over your head, you can feed, you have clothes on your back. You are your own person. It's not enough to be grateful for. Absolutely. It's not enough to be thankful for. There are some people out there, who don't have it.
They don't have it at all.
Yes, they are happy, to be alive. And I said, some things that have broken some nations, we've seen it all. We've been there, we've done that, and we have moved as a people, as a country, and we're still standing. And so I said, I salute the resilience, resilience of the everyday Nigerian who, in spite of it all, still stands tall and just keeps pushing on, moving on, knowing that there is hope, for every minute, every second that they are alive. And, so if you're out there thinking, what should I be grateful for? If you're out there thinking, you're just counting all the problems, well, stop and take a look at what you have right in front of you and be grateful for that. Because, trust me, a lot of people would rather have, what you have. And so, yes, it's July, the 7th month in the year 2024. We have come so far. And, just saying that we have come so far, that line, takes us into, all of the goodies we have lined up for you this beautiful Tuesday morning. And so we'll start off with our top stories where we tell you what to expect. Now, in the news, federal government, UNICEF development partners commit to enhanced social protection in Nigeria.
And of course, it's Tuesday, so on education this morning, federal government reintroduces the school feeding program.
Well, also in the news, WHO steps in as cholera outbreak hits Kirikiri prison in Lagos, southwest Nigeria.
And also on the program later on, ECOWAS court president tasks parliament on returning Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger to bloc.
All of these and so much more we have lined up for you this morning. So we will go for a very quick break. When we return, we will come back with some stories, telling you what's on the front burner. Join us again. great to have you back, and we did tell you that we will return with stories on the front burner. Now, our first story this morning, federal government reintroduces school feeding program. Now, President Bola Tinubu-led administration has called on state governments to key into the homegrown school feeding program recently reintroduced in the country. The Senior Special Assistant to President Tinubu's school feeding program, Dr. Yetunde Adeniji, made the call at a two-day strategic meeting themed encouraging state-driven implementation and best practices for school feeding towards local agricultural value chain, community engagement and economic development in Abuja. Take a listen.
We've been talking to the state governors who ensure that they will do everything within their possible best to ensure that children are safe in schools, and that is why the Safe School Initiatives has actually come out. Governors are ensuring that schools are well fenced and well guarded within their community, so that these children will be able to learn proper and be free from any threats as it is. These state program managers and focal persons to be able to go back to their states to convince their principals on the need to quickly, as a matter of urgency, start to feed children within states. The relationship for the program is between federal government and the state government.
Now, while disclosing that about 65 million children are now beneficiaries of the school feeding program in Africa, the African Union further called on African countries to emulate the Nigeria's initiative. Now, we do have some other sound bites that we will just bring to you.
We are domesticating what is called the Continental Homegrown School Feeding Guidelines. That is actually to really guide the member states to strengthen the program on homegrown school feeding programs.
It's a good one. We all realize with the current inflation on ground, the federal government cannot handle the school feeding program alone, and all partners need to come on board. And the state government are the beneficiaries of this, and the state governments have to come on board too to see how they can take responsibility of some of the programs.
Yes, so that's it. Should we just... okay, so Zoe, the school feeding program, I'm really quite excited. I mean, we've talked about this before, how that, the federal government, the Tinubu-led federal government reintroduced the school feeding program after it had all kinds of issues with the outgone Buhari administration, even though that was where the whole thing started. Of course, we had stories of misappropriation, we had stories of improper hygiene, handling of the food. We had situations where children were hospitalized. There were all kinds of issues, and so that program was arrested. But it's good to know that while the Tinubu administration has brought it in, I mean, this workshop that just held, served as a fora where, other state governors, other state governments are being encouraged to get on board, because it should not just be implemented at the federal level, it should cascade down to the different states, and then every state government keying in, because at the end of the day, the children are the center of this project. And what do we want to do with this project? Cut down on the out of school children figure. We want to bring that figure down, and one of the things that serves as an excuse for some parents not taking their children to school is the fact that, one, they can barely feed. They can barely feed, and so you find children who are supposed to be in school, they are probably on the streets hawking. And so by reason of this program, children are kept in school, they're promised good feeding, and then of course they are learning, in the process. And so when I saw this initiative, I just thought it's about time, even though other states had keyed in before now, keyed into the project. And some states actually maintained the school feeding program, continued the project, but this renewed call for everybody to get on board, all hands to get on board, and not just only the children now. I mean, for quite a while we've been talking about the agricultural sector, and aiding that sector to grow. And so this also serves as an opportunity, for that sector. I mean, people get foodstuff from farmers, to prepare, and so it becomes like a win-win for everybody.
Totally. I'm very happy that government has finally realize the role that proper nutrition plays in a child's education. You know, if a child is hungry, that child is not about to learn anything that you're teaching that child. So I'm happy with that, and I'm also happy with the fact that these efforts have been expanded. You know, from about 10 million children within Nigeria to 20 million children. You know, that's what they're kind of aiming for in the country, not Africa as a whole. I would love to see more partnerships, you know, more collaborations with NGOs, not necessarily government-run agencies. Maybe not to outsource that job, but maybe just to partner. You know, and that would help proper accountability. That would make for better transparency for the whole scheme, because that was one of the challenges that scheme was having. There was lack of transparency at some point. The food wasn't quality. You know, there were kind of issues.
The quality of the food dropped. I mean, sometimes when you see pictures of what children are being fed, you're wondering why
is this it? And then some school children were not, you know, reached at all, and all of those kinds of things. So now that it is back, we want to see we want to see a more structured and more organized approach to the entire feeding program, so that it will actually achieve what it was meant to achieve.
So say kudos to the government. So you want to take the next
Yes, let's take the second story. Cholera, that's been one of the stories on the front burner. WHO steps in as outbreak hits Kirikiri prison in Lagos. So the Lagos state says it is receiving additional support from the World Health Organization, WHO, as it now battles an outbreak of cholera at the Kirikiri prison. A statement released by the Director of Public Affairs, Tumbosu Ogunbawos, on Sunday quoted the Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Akin Abayomi, as saying an outbreak of 25 cases of severe gastroenteritis caused by cholera occurred at Kirikiri Medium Security Prison, adding that urgent medical and environmental intervention measures have been implemented with success. Now, we were able to supply Kirikiri Medium Prison with intravenous fluids, infection prevention, and other health consumables. Additionally, the World Health Organization has donated 10,000 doses of pharmaceuticals, which have been delivered to the prison to support prison health facilities with prevention strategies for about 3,200 inmates if required. Immediate water and sanitation issues have been corrected, and there are ongoing inspections of other correctional facilities in the state, and it goes on and on and on, but that's basically the scoop.
Yes, talking about cholera, that's one rather worrisome occurrence. I mean, 2 weeks ago, someone told me that they lost someone, you know, as a result of cholera. Well, I think it was as a result of something he consumed. Then he started having running stomach overnight, and then he was taken to the hospital where he was stooling and, you know, throwing up and all that. And, you know, by the time they took him in for scanning, on the way to the scanning center, he lost his life. And, you know, that was just, I just thought about it. I said, think about the number of people who very likely are in vulnerable situations, for instance, those prison inmates and all that. You know, I just thought about it, and I said, even in the market, the kind of water people drink, food people, and you know, at the time, they put out an advisory that, you know, this sachet water, people should be careful about them, you know, buying cooked food outdoors, buying cut up fruits already, people should be mindful. Because again, when you think about, I mean, you buy a bulb of fruit, you know how you handle at home, you know all the amount of water you use to keep both the fruit and the environment clean. And the thing that someone who's in the market probably doesn't have the luxury of so much water, you know, at their disposal, so they would want to mind. So think about the hygiene environment for that kind of, you know, consumable, and then it's not readily available. And so people, where people are mining running water to do what they need to do, that becomes a health hazard. And then to think that, you know, the Kirikiri prison, you know, got hit by cholera. I'm just grateful, you know, that the situation was arrested immediately, and then no fatalities have been recorded. I mean, government swung into action, health partners also swung into action, you know, to save the day. You know, I'm really just happy about that. And then, also to join my voice, to the advisory that please be careful what you eat, what you drink, what you consume outdoors, especially in this period. You need to be very mindful, of those things because, hey, health is wealth and life is irreplaceable.
Totally. I do agree with you on that, Precious, and I also do expect, so everyone should be careful like you rightly said. I also will expect our health agencies to step up a little. Cholera is something, it is not strange. We've had cases of cholera before in the country, and it is expected that when you have outbreaks or when you have cases of that, you would have assessed the situation, studied it, so that if it does occur again, you would know exactly what to do. Yesterday in the news, we had a news item that's how that federal government was partnering with Gavi for vaccine for the same cholera. And we just kind of thought by this time we should have come of age to be able to produce our own pharmaceutical inputs, our own treatments. We know how this thing happens. We know we've had experience with cases of cholera in the past, not once, not twice. In some parts of the state, we've heard about that, right? So are you saying that nothing has been done, like we've not been able to come together and say, okay, this is what the causes are, this is how we can best, and then you have those who do the research on it, like kind of sit on it and make sure that we come up with a homegrown solution? Must we all the time depend on foreign pharmaceutical inputs to be flown in? Do we have to? I think that at this point, Nigeria has one of the brightest minds. We keep saying that, but in situations like that, it just kind of makes you wonder, for how long? And I'm not saying, it's bad to be assisted by some partners. That's not what I'm saying. But for how long?
Why don't you?
What exactly? And what are the conditions on the ground for receiving some of these things? So I'm saying, by this time, we should have been on top of it and know what to do.
Africa has repeatedly been accused of not being proactive. We always take knee-jerk reactions to things. As if things just happen and they meet us and then we're scrambling around for solution and all that. Like you rightfully said, this is not the first time that Nigeria as a country is battling cholera. It's not the first time, but I do hope that it won't be the last, because whether you like it or not, there are just some things that one can say, I have mastered this, I have, conquered this, and I'm moving forward. Yes, health emergencies, sometimes they creep up on you, you don't know, but what's your level of preparedness? Exactly. When in the eventuality that it does happen, how prepared are you to tackle it? Like you rightfully said, we do have bright minds, and no matter how much externals will want to come in to put forward whatever kind of solution they think they have, there's nothing like homegrown solution, because it is local to you. You understand the people, you understand not just the psyche, you understand the makeup, and you understand what works. When you talk about handling health issues, for instance, a lot of times it has to do with sanitation and hygiene. What are you doing about it? We still have clogged gutters, we still have refuse dumps that are not properly managed effectively. Yes. We still have refuse pickup companies that are not functioning optimally. We still have all kinds of issues. We still have people openly defecating. What are we doing about all of these things? Now, if you don't handle all of these things effectively, you would continually have, health challenges like this. But when you, as a country, as a government, you are proactive enough to put measures in place, yes, government cannot do everything alone, but there are partners, there are people out here who really want to partner with the government. What is government doing with, partnering with local NGOs, for instance, with local organizations? There are, Nigerian pharmaceutical companies, there are Nigerian companies that produces, sanitary equipment, materials, if you like. What is government doing to even make the environment easy for them to do business in the first place? Not to talk of now, partnering with them. If you're not creating an environment that is conducive for them to function effectively, the business will not thrive. And so you find yourself in situations where you are scrambling for solutions, you're scrambling for answers, you're looking for who will come to your aid. But if we are proactive enough to master these different things, we are able. If we can rise up to the occasion and do that, you'd find that there will be less dependence on externals. I am not against, I understand international relations. I understand that no man is an island.
Yes.
But you must take charge of your destiny. You must remain in charge of your destiny. So that whoever is bringing anything to you, you call the shots.
Exactly.
Not in a situation where you are now begging for help and so anything just comes. At that point, you're ready to accept anything. So sign any dotted lines because at that minute you want solution. But when you're proactive enough, you are not in that kind of dire straits where, just anything is fobbed up on you and then you have to accept it because you don't have, options.
I think we have one more story.
Yes, we do have one more story, but do understand that the phone lines are open at this time. You really can call in and share on any of the stories, that we've been talking about. I mean, we've talked about the school feeding program, how the government, has reintroduced it, and it's calling on all states, all the stakeholders to come on board, all hands on deck to ensure that that program works. And of course, we just took the cholera story, letting us know that the situation in Kirikiri thankfully has been arrested, and then of course other correctional facilities and vulnerable places are also being looked into to ensure that we don't have that kind of emergency anymore. Now, our third story on the front burner this morning, the federal government in collaboration with the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, and development partners has expressed the need to strengthen the social protection system to address growing poverty in the country. This was contained in a communique jointly endorsed by UNICEF representative Christian Mondwate, EU ambassador in Nigeria Samuela Isopi, and Nigeria's Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy Wale Edu at the end of the third edition of the Social Protection Cross-Learning Summit, which held in Abuja. Now, according to the communique, as the most populous country in Africa, Nigeria faces significant challenges in human capital development and deprivations in health, education, nutrition, water, hygiene, sanitation, and child protection. It also noted that the situation underscores the urgency for a comprehensive and effective social protection strategies. In his remark, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, who emphasized the importance of integrated social protection systems, expressed government's commitment to ensure access to social protection for all and removing barriers that people face in accessing these services. Now, commending the federal government for the significant strides on the development of several programs and single registry, UNICEF country representative Christiana Mondwate, on behalf of the Social Protection Development Partners Group, stated that the importance of social protections is in realizing the rights of every child.
Social protection was a key element of the program. It wasn't just a macroeconomic reform program by itself. Side by side was the social intervention program. And that's why from the start, with the help of the World Bank, together with our own resources, $1.2 billion in total, 800 million from the World Bank, 400 million from the government's own resources, has been lined up for direct payment.
Let us reaffirm our collective commitment to advancing social protection in Nigeria. Let us work together to bridge gaps, strengthen coordination, and ensure that every Nigerian benefits from a system that supports their growth, their empowerment, and that gives them the tools to live a life of dignity.
Now, the objectives of the summit include raise awareness, highlight how social protection can mitigate poverty, enhance economic stability, and promote inclusive growth through social assistance, cash transfers, social security, health insurance, and labor market regulation. And that's what that summit, conference, whatever you call it, was about, social protection. Zoe, I'm always concerned, when for Nigeria, when we say social protection, you're talking about cash transfers. that so far for me has not really worked. I mean, look at the, we still make reference to the Muhammadu Buhari administration. That was where all of this, you know, there's so many new things, you know, started. And I do recall at the time when, you know, cash transfers, you know, were being made, that it was like it was one big solution, you know, that had come. I think at the time of Buhari's time, it was it 15,000 or 20,000 or 10,000 there? But between 10 and 20,000 was being, you know, transferred to people, and, you know, we're being told figures of, you know, people who had gotten the money at the time. And, you know, it was majorly concentrated in the north, which is not the focus of this conversation. But I'm just saying, you know, that when we say social protection, shouldn't it be beyond cash transfers? I mean, you're giving people money. Is that good? How far would that take people? You know, I would have thought that when we think social protection, you're not giving the people fish, but you're teaching them how to fish. And you know, some rivers, some ponds, you have that river hyacinth, you know, that'll block the waterways and prevent them to be able to fish. You know, so you'd find that it's expected that the waterways will be cleared, right? Or the people will be taught how to clear the waterways. Now, I'm using that fishing analogy to say that instead of giving people money to eat, why don't you create an environment, enable them to be able to start up small or medium-scale businesses, and then create an enabling environment where those businesses would thrive. I can't imagine the number of small-scale businesses that has crumbled in the last 1 year as a result of not being able to meet up with, you know, the whole economic challenge that the country has found itself in. And so, also, we found recently some multinationals, the likes of Guinness and, you know, the rest of them, you know, moving out of the country. And that in itself created a huge number of unemployed people, you know, in the economy. I mean, we have Guinness in Benin City, we have Guinness in different, you know, some states in the country, and to think that all of a sudden that company is up and leaving, shutting down their operations within the country. So you find that the states where these companies were domiciled at the time had an increased number of unemployed people. And so that analogy, instead of giving people money to eat, why don't you create an environment where businesses can thrive? Yes, you can give them stipends to start up small businesses. But then again, when there's an environment where those businesses can thrive economically and every way possible, you'd find that there'll be less dependence on government. You find that government really won't have to do so much to make life a little bit more bearable for the people. But when that environment is lacking, government continues to struggle. It becomes a vicious circle where you keep giving out monies, but people remain in poverty, in penury. And so you haven't solved any problem at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, let me say what you said, you know, in a different way.
Yes.
Because, like, it has to be, social protection is good, you know, as long as it impacts the person or the people positively.
For how long?
That's what, no, that I'm coming. You know, as long as it impacts the people in a positive way, it is good. Now, if it has to do with over-dependence on government, that is where the issues begin to come in, which is what you've pointed out, which is what usually happens when you just limit the, you know, the scheme to palliatives. I know it's more than that, and I know it's kind of a model, you know, it's like kind of a Western model that includes several social schemes, you know, like you have your health insurance, you have your employment injury scheme, you know, you have your pension scheme. So all of these schemes are meant to kind of help the person, you know, cushion whatever economic hardships or changes that might occur. But the question I'm asking is, do we have sufficient structures on the ground? And don't forget also, this model is basically, or it basically applies to the formal sector, so those that are in a certain employ. What happens to the farmer? What happens to the market woman? Exactly. How will she have health insurance, for instance? How will she have some of these other schemes? So the question I am asking, do we have the right structures currently on the ground to support what we want to do? If we do, all good and fine, but I would rather expect that if we're going to have any kind of social protection scheme, let it be homegrown, let it be tailored to our needs. You know, so you look at the demographic, you see what applies, and this might vary, it might differ across states. If you come to a region or an area where you have more of artisans, where you have more of farmers, more of market women, it has to be different, just so that it will tailor-made to suit their needs. Then if you come to areas where you have more of business people, or where you have more of civil servants, public workers, you structure it in such a way that it would benefit those kinds of people. So if you have one model across the board, you might begin to have issues, or at best you have some people benefiting and others not benefiting at all, right? Which we've also seen from the palliatives. A lot of people will tell you, I don't even know where they go to collect these palliatives or where they're being shared. So what have you achieved in the end?
You know, were made to people at the end of the day. How many Nigerians benefited from that product? Because whether you like it or not, if you don't have proper structures in place, if you don't have proper models in place, right, the human factor will come in, where people will favor their own people, monies will not get to where it was meant to get to. And so government is sitting back and thinking, we've done so much for our people, we're looking at our people, we're trying to alleviate their sufferings. And then the people are wondering, this government is not doing anything. I mean, you promised us so much, we've not gotten anything. So there is, at the end of the day, you find that divide in the middle. Who ensures that whatever is meant for XYZ gets to XYZ? And I have never been a fan of distributing monies to people. I mean, I do recall during the first the COVID palliative at that time, we know the drama that unfolded, how people were stockpiling these palliatives, some people were using it for their birthdays. And I do recall that at the time when this Tinubu administration started, when government, there was a lot of hardship, it was really bad, and government felt that one of the things that they could do was to bring palliatives to the people to alleviate. I do recall at that time, it was on the program, a lot of people were calling in, don't give us palliatives, please use this money to fix our refineries, fix major infrastructures that would make life a whole lot easier for us. But those cries for whatever reasons, were not heeded. And then look at the way the palliatives even went. How many people got the palliatives? I recall at that time, I came here and I said, my estate, you know, we have over 1,000 people in my estate, right? And these are people made of single people, people with families of 4, 5, 6, some even up to 10. And you know, this 5 kg bag of rice, 2 of it was brought to the estate to say, oh, this is the palliative that is. I'm not going to let you know where I live, so I don't name names now. But that was the best the governor could do. Like, okay, let it not be said that we didn't do anything. 2 5 kg bags of rice, and you know what 5 kg is? Estate? For an entire estate of over 1,000 people. That was what that was the palliative that was brought to us. And you know, it was the same story across several estates. And you know, because the estates, we have residents association, the chairman of those associations, some of them came up, went on social media with you know, they were blasting the governors, returned these bags of rice to say, that's an insult, we're not hungry, we're not begging you. Do you understand? And then what my estate did was to simply hand over the 2 bags of 5 kg. We just gave it to the security guys, you know, at the gate to say, okay, this is the governor's contribution to you. Please eat and enjoy. But you see, whatever effort the government, the government thought it had made, that singular act made it made nonsense of that initiative. And so, which is why I said what I said. Instead of embarking on, you know, you're spending so much money on palliatives that will never get to the people anyway, because it just gets one somewhere and it stops there. I mean, the other day in Nasarawa, we had a stampede because governor was coming to share palliatives for students. A student body that were there are over 80,000. You're bringing 20,000 bags of 7.5 kg bags of rice, you know, for 20,000 students. What will happen to the other 60,000 people? What would happen to them? And so it just lets you know that, you know, sometimes it's not about giving money. Nigerians are not lazy. Nigerians don't want to be spoon-fed. Nigerians are hardworking. They want to make their own money because they understand that there's dignity in labor. Create a conducive environment. So instead of, you know, allowing some people benefit, people who don't deserve to benefit from that money, embezzling that money and then painting the government in bad light, why don't you channel all that resources? And I'm sure Nigerians will hail you, Nigerians will egg you on, Nigerians will encourage you when they know that in the long run, this is going to benefit not just them, but their children and their children's children. Nigerians will encourage you. But when you spend so much money and think that you're bringing a solution to them, the only thing you get from the people is discontent, no matter your best efforts, because it didn't get to them. You know, it didn't get to them, and so discontent will now be the story of the day, and then it will seem like government is insensitive, government is not doing what it ought to do, government is not doing what it promised, but that may not be the intention, you know, that may not be the intent of government. And so these are our stories this morning. Our phone lines are still open, and we are expecting your call. I think we just have about 10 minutes left on this segment, so you do need a call in. And I do understand, I mean, I did hear from the director that we've been having some dropped calls. People have been trying to call in, and then, you know, the calls just keep dropping. And so please, I'm begging the networks this morning, can't it be good to Nigerians? People want to air their views, let them speak, okay? Whatever it is, fix it so that we can have our highly esteemed viewers, you know, call in and contribute on the program this morning.
Absolutely. These are, you know, issues, and, you know, while you were talking, I just thought to myself, I'm sure they know these things. So that then begets the question, it makes me question the sincerity of your move, you know, the sincerity of your efforts. Are you really sincere in doing that? Is it really about alleviating poverty? I can't help think that way, because I think that you are smart enough, you're intelligent enough, you're grounded and knowledgeable enough to know what works in certain instances and what might not work. If you're going to share stuff, then you have to share it to everyone to make sure that everyone benefits. So if you're going to share something that you already know is not going to be enough, or, you know, only some few people, some few individuals are going to benefit, how does that translate to you sharing palliatives to the entire country. It won't, and like you rightly said, all it does is breed discontent and further disillusionment and all the rest of it, because it then means you don't really care. So why don't you use that money to tackle the environment, like you rightly said, fix our refineries, make the environment conducive, electricity, make it conducive for people to work. Like you rightly said, Nigerians are hardworking. So why don't you do that? Is it that you cannot do it, or you would rather not do it? So you begin to see where all of those questions come in. So, I mean, for many people, many Nigerians who, by the way, are very smart, very intelligent, they question your rationale behind what you're doing. They don't trust you. They think it's some gimmick that is meant to, it's for your own records, so that it will be that you did this. But in actual sense, did it bring about the impact it was meant to? Most likely no. So what are you going to do about it? That's the question, and I guess that's the question Nigerians are asking, right? And then even the social protection, who is going to be benefiting from it?
Yes. And then one question that I've always asked, and nobody has really been able to answer me: how does the government know the people who are there?
It's
where did they get register from? Social register.
What's the criteria? How do you determine who qualifies?
Exactly. I mean, every day here in Lagos, every day, you're walking. If you leave your house early enough, that's where you understand what people are going through. So there are people who are sleeping on the roads. There are people who are sleeping anywhere there's seemingly a little shelter. There are people who are homeless. There are people who are... Yesterday, I was on my way to work, and then I was in a vehicle, right? We saw an elderly woman. She was walking on the express. She was barefooted. And I said, dear God. The lady in the car said, this woman has lost her mind. And if you see the way she was looking, bedraggled, you'd know that this is someone who's been battered by life. She was walking barefooted. And, sometimes it's not because they're insane, or maybe they've taken one drug, or they've done something. It's
not necessarily.
Hardship. How to deal with hardship. And then people just get to that point where they lose their mind. They don't know what they're doing anymore. People are suffering. It's not easy for people. And so my question is, how do you know the people who genuinely need this money?
Exactly.
Because we keep hearing that, transfers were made to 20,000 homes, 50,000 homes. Who are these people? How did you even locate them? How did you pick them? Like you said, what's the criteria? How do you know them? What register? Is there a register that people are unaware of? How many people are registered on that register?
Good
I mean,
question.
You see some people, I have been, at the bus stop, I'm waiting to take, transport home, and then you see this very well-dressed, they call them corporate beggars. Very well-dressed person, probably on suits, or maybe a very good-looking dress. And then they walk up to you and they said, they'll say, oh, hello, excuse me, this, I just lost my wallet. I'm going to XYZ place. That's a gimmick to beg. Do you think that ordinarily that person would want to beg? That someone probably lost his job. No other job anywhere else. And so he probably has a family. His family will not starve, or he himself will not starve. And he doesn't want to get into vices, and so he begins to beg.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do people qualify on that register?
So basically what we're saying is that, these schemes are good. I mean, what they're intended to achieve, very good. But Nigerians would love to see something that would actually work for them, right? Not some model that was imported from somewhere to be placed on the people, and it ends up not achieving much or achieving little. So we can come back to the drawing board, study the situation, know exactly what works for us. If we're going to identify certain individuals, we make the criteria very clear for what that is, okay?
So you have a thought. I understand we don't have a call at this time. Hello? Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining. Hello?
Hello?
Oh dear, we lost that call. Please, networks, be kind to us. Nigerians really want to air their views. Please, we just have a few more minutes to go. Do be nice to us. Sorry, you were saying?
Yes. So, so part of that social protection should also include accessibility, accessibility to proper health care, you know, access, if you like, to some of these things. Because while you're talking about affordability, there's also the issue of accessibility. So based on where people live, how far away, for instance, is the next healthcare center, for example, you know, so how accessible are these places for the people? So that's one thing to consider. And then several other things. What I'm saying is, let's do this with Nigerians in mind. This is what we want to achieve. If it's to deal with the multidimensional poverty, as it is called, then you need to study the situation. There has to be proper research on the Nigerian situation and on the Nigerian, you know, example, and then you work with that. That should be your template. That should be that should be what would guide you in coming up with whatever scheme that would include.
Instead of importing one alien model that, you know, is
most of the time doesn't even work.
Doesn't solve any problem, rather creates more problems. Because right now Nigeria cannot afford to be frivolous with money. Every kobo we have now should count for something. And if government has, you know, if government has said we don't want to enrich the rich further to the detriment of the not so rich, then initiatives, projects, you know, that government comes up with, you know, should not encourage that narrative. It should not enrich, you know, people that you know, government says they don't want to enrich, but rather empower the people who need that strengthening. And so homegrown solutions to local problems, you know, a lot of times will cost you almost nothing, but it will go a long way to solving the problem on ground, because it shows that you understand what you're about, and then just a little plug here, a little plug here, a little plug there, and then you have yourself a beautiful country. But when we keep importing solutions, or we keep allowing development partners who, you know, a lot of times don't even understand what the country is going through. They only understand it in text. They don't understand it in reality. It makes nonsense of government effort. It makes, you know, it creates a huge waste of resources that we cannot afford to waste at this time. And so, while, you know, while the nation appreciates what government is doing, but a little shift in focus to more homegrown solutions, you know, would go a long way, you know, to solving the Nigerian situation, as it is said. But I do understand now that we need to draw the curtain on this segment of the Front Burner here on the morning show. Thank you very much to all those who try to call it. We do sincerely apologize. You know, networks were just not nice to us this morning, but we do hope that, you know, you would remain with us even on this journey, even as we've set sail. But this is where we burst the Front Burner segment at this time. We will go for a very quick break and return with so much more. Join us again.
What makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues? Order. The tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension. The instability of the system. Join Ellen 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
Apologize for saying that I was corrupt.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
Watch politics now on LN 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on LN 24/7.
LN 24/7 is first of all a news station.
Well, we'll continue with updates from the just concluded governorship
in the southeast has raised questions if INEC will be able to conduct elections.
With a core team of over 40 correspondents spread across Nigeria.
Nigeria is set to take its place.
The unions of aviation workers are out here protesting.
And affiliates in Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. We give you news as it breaks from the perspective you can trust. LN 24/7 News, where the story goes, we go.
The Nigerian education sector has 5 examination bodies under it that helps to conduct seamless examinations for Nigerian students. We are here at Yaba College of Education asking Nigerian students how many of these examination bodies do they know and mention them. Good afternoon, sir. Please, what's your name?
I'm Buluatife Adebayo.
Okay, how many examination bodies do we have in Nigeria, and can you mention the ones you know?
Okay, I am WAEC, SSC, UTME, JAMB. I think these are the ones.
We have a whole lot of examination bodies in Nigeria, but I'm just going to mention the ones that I know. We have WAEC, we have JAMB, we have GCE, we have NECO, we have NAPTEP, we have which other one? I think that's all. That's all that I know for now.
We have 5, but I only remember 3. Okay. So WAEC, NECO, and JAMB. Those are the 3 I remember.
We have GC, we have WAEC, we have post-UTME, we have JAMB, and we have NECO, and a lot more. etc.
I know JAMB, WAEC, GC, NECO. I don't really use post-UTME, I guess.
We have 5, but I can mention only 2. Chamb and WAEC.
That's all.
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, sir. What's your name?
Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Adebayo.
Okay, so how many examination bodies do we have in Nigeria? And just mention the ones you know.
Okay, we have 5. And one is JAMB, WAEC, NECO, NAPTEB, TRCN. Those are the 5.
We have JAMB, we have NECO, we have GCE, and I can't remember the rest, but those are the ones that comes to mind.
JAMB, WAEC. So people do GCE, I think, if it's important, or NECO. That's the one I know.
Alright, thank you. Unzubechuku Anodo, LN24/7.
Have you back, of course. When you do see that montage, you know what's coming next, to bringing you some beautiful things from the world of education. And then, of course, I would, even though I'm here on set with Zoe, who are not alone, there's a new entrant on set, and that's the all of that.
I don't think he's a new entrant at this point.
No, I mean, for today, a new entrant for today on set. Of course, he's not a stranger. I mean, you just saw his report. He's one very good field reporter, very resourceful too. Unzubechuku Anodo, it's good to have you here. Looking very dapper.
You know, my steez come already.
Oh boy, not again with that. I mean, what's up with that word, steez? 3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, it was just everywhere. Oh, Steve's 100% competent. I'm like, hello.
Composure.
Composure, 100%. Steve's, I'm like, what's that about? You know, every day you hear new lingo on, you know, social media. But, of course, your Steve's 100%. Well done.
Thank you. I mean, you look amazing as well.
Hey, yeah, thank you so much.
Compliment everyone.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're smack dab in the middle, right? Right. So, like we did say, Unzubechuku also, I mean, you do know he's on the education desk doing amazing things there. But at this point, we want to get into some education news stories. We'd hoped that we were going to have a conversation this morning, but we're still hoping that will happen. But let's bring you some education news. Now, the Science Granting Council's initiative, SGCI, has granted Full Nigerian Research Team $250,000 to transform their research findings into commercialized goods and services. The Executive Secretary, Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, ARC, Sonny Echona, disclosed this at the inauguration of the initial bootcamp of the SGCI funding of research grants in Nigeria. And of course, this held in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. We do have a report. Take a listen.
Represented by the Director, TED Fund Research Innovation and Development, Dr. Salihu Bakari, the ES revealed that the grant originated from the SGCI, a multi-funder initiative aimed at strengthening the capacities of 17 Science Granting Councils, SGCs, in sub-Saharan Africa. Trakopsa Lihu Bakari. Echona said that though Nigeria joined in SGCI in 2020, 5 years after the inception of the program, the impact of the collaboration is poised to be transformative, adding that the $250,000 grant will support 4 Nigerian research teams, each working on projects with the potential to drive significant change in the country.
The essence is to help them transform their research findings into commercializable goods and services in this country. As you have seen, some are working on processing of gari, others are working on renewable energy, and so on and so forth. So 4 teams are going to use this money that will help to develop their research into prototype and into minimum viable product, and then pitch them with industries so that there will be takeoff of the product and that is coming up from the research.
Recall that TED Fund is one of 17 members of the Sub-Saharan Africa Science Funding Council's initiative, which seek to strengthen Science Financial Council in supporting research and evidence-based policies that contribute to the socio-economic development of countries across the globe.
SGCI reinforcing what we have always known as research, getting required grants, and then of course always looking at it as one of the ways that universities, can raise money, research grants. And so the SGCI has awarded 4 Nigerian teams $250,000 to transform research into commercialized goods. I mean, how beautiful is that?
Yes. So is it each of the teams $250,000 or the lump sum together?
And I guess that's what it would be, each team, because if you are now saying transform your research, I mean, it's $250,000. How far would that really go for, across 4 teams, and then talking about what they have, the research that they have come up with? Things are quite expensive. Yeah. So I want to think that it's per team, $250,000 per team to do what they need to do.
Well, it's amazing though, because the research is very important. And then for the fact now and that you're giving these funds and to convert your findings into commercialized commodities, just meaning these funds are not just for research alone and it ends there. That means now we can now provide solutions to some of let us say like our agricultural problems. Now we can find solutions because you are implementing what you have studied. This is what you know. It's just to take it into action. So the best thing, this is amazing, this is commendable. I mean, that you hardly see things like this on the news. But for it to be here, this is really amazing.
Sure. Yes. I want to see more, and I think I mentioned it earlier, I want to see more partnerships. I want to see more private enterprises weighing in, so that it's not just left for maybe TED Fund or some educational bodies. Private partnership. I want to see more bodies or more organizations to say, you know what, we're supporting your research with XYZ amount of dollars, right? Because most often we see them do that for entertainment purposes, for the movies, the music, and all of that. Nothing wrong with that, but you see, for any country who also wants to advance technologically and otherwise, you have to prioritize research. There's no other way around it, right? So if there are more funds available for research, the research teams can do more, faster, quicker, and they're able to come up with more innovations, more commercial commodities in this instance. So this is good, excellent, but I would that more organizations, multinationals for instance, they can easily drop this amount for research teams, and then
and that's that's why it still takes me back to my call to universities. It's not always about federal government not funding. There are ways you can get creative, I mean, foreign universities, a lot of their fundings don't come from the government. One, their major funding, especially in the UK and the US, their major funding comes from foreign international students. The monies, the bulk of money, that they bring into the school system. That's where I think that accounts for about 60% of the school's, revenue. And so then you have that on the one hand, and then you have them, research grants that they get from corporations, corporate bodies, institutions, or the Fords of this world, because they understand that if you depend on government totally, you're not going anywhere in a hurry, and you need to move. We're talking about research here. I do recall there was, I think it was the University of Lagos, their convocation you went to cover, even the one that I went to cover. Some of their best graduating students are from engineering departments, creative departments where when you see some of the things that they have created, you are astounded. And so I'm thinking, you as a school, manufacturing companies that can buy into these ideas. So what are you doing? Are you inviting them in? Are you making yourself attractive enough for instance, a Caterpillar? coming in to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to the University of Lagos, or I'm going to the University of Benin, their engineering department. I know they have some very creative minds there that, you know, and, you know, the school also is at that point where you can actually trust the quality of students that they are churning out. And so I am going, you know, we as a body, we're going there, give us your best graduating students, let them come and intern with us for a certain period, and then when they graduate, we can absorb them. That kind of partnership, you as a school get creative. You'd find that schools will become, I mean, these international schools that, you know, people are running to, they didn't make their name, you know, in one day.
Yes.
It's history. They proved that they are worthy. They proved that they are churning out products that can hold their own anywhere in the world. And I dare say Nigerians are very intelligent. And so when our schools rise up to this occasion, you know, to say, you know what, we will build our departments that we know can attract fund, is it engineering, is it medicine, whatever it is, we'll build our departments and attract these funds that we require. You'd find that the issue of funding from government, you just find out that schools will just ignore government. If you like, don't do your part. You also cannot come to us for anything. No, it's true. You can't hold us to anything because we are thriving without you. And that's what you know, that's how you create history. That's how you create relevance as a person, as an organization or an institution. You know, and so this would serve as an encouragement, you know, to schools all around.
Because you understand it's a collaboration. Yes, so let's take on the next story.
Please go ahead.
Yes, of course. The Minister of Education, the Federal Ministry of Education has called for a holistic approach to the improvement of quality of knowledge and certificate given to adults and non-formal school graduates in Nigeria. The Minister for State of Education, Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu, made this call while declaring open a stakeholders meeting on achieving youth and adult literacy, a critical pillar of the roadmap for the Nigerian education sector 2024 to 2027. Of course, this happened in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Take a listen.
Our State for Education emphasized the need for incorporating skills acquisition and awareness campaigns to educate parents on the importance of education, noting that the importance of education in eradicating poverty and ensuring access to quality education for all Nigerians irrespective of age, gender and geopolitical location has become a necessity.
Started the assessment of impact. The roadmap is a product of 8-point agenda of Mr. President, national policy on education, the gap we identified when we came to the ministry, and the input from major stakeholders. And we have already commenced it because we have already submitted a report, first quarter report, and that quarter report also reflects on what we have done this year. On the after-school children, we have convinced, we have the data on us, that we have so far returned over 2 million children back to school. So this one is an ongoing project. But I have to say, I congratulated the Commission because it took the bull by the horn for standing alone to organize this program irrespective of these ministries. The program is directly funded, sponsored, organized by the MEC. Here, if you look at the statistic, there is a wide variation in terms of geopolitical distribution of literacy. We say that there is highest literacy in the southern part of Nigeria as opposed to the northern part. And even if you disaggregate it to the state level, especially in English and English spoken, we say that there is highest literacy of over 81% in Imo State, and Lagos State follows second. You understand? So we said these data are very important so that we realize that for Nigeria to go along as an entity, we must be able to cover or reduce the gap. There is really a wide gap, and I said that some states are performing very, very low, such as Zamfara, Yobe, and many other states of the country.
In his remarks, the Executive Secretary, National Commission for Mass Literacy, Adult and Non-Formal Education, NMEC, Professor Simon Igbo Akpama, who stated the critical role of literacy in building a sustainable future, stressed the need for collective action towards addressing youth and adult illiteracy in the country.
The population of Nigeria is increasing. And because of this increasing population of the country, that's why the illiteracy is also increasing. Other factors that most private individuals, organizations are not supporting government enough. And with the essence of this meeting, we are calling on all stakeholders, international partners to support government. Government alone cannot fund education. We are calling on all individuals, international partners to support government. For instance, fund the recruitment, retention and remuneration of facilitators. Facilitators are teachers in the normal education sector. Most state governments are not committed to employing, to retaining and not remunerating facilitators. So the participation in illiteracy service delivery is low, especially from individuals. So we are calling on international partners, Nigerian entrepreneurs and all individuals to support the funding of youth and adult literacy in Nigeria.
Commending President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's political will to change the nation's literacy narrative, the Chairman, House Committee on Alternative Education, Honorable Ibrahim Mustafa, expressed the National Assembly's commitment to achieving an educated society.
However, we are faced with the daunting challenges of low literacy and illiteracy rate among our children, youth and adults, and the paucity of funds to tackle the menace. Together with the above, Nigeria is estimated to have about 15 million out-of-school children, and the same time only 25% of the children in the same age group are proficient in reading and numeracy, while 35 million children cannot read or write. This places Nigeria, unfortunately, among the third in the ranking of the nations that have largest number of out-of-school children in the world. This simply implies that we need great improvement to strengthen the system and service delivery at the basic and other levels.
The meeting is aimed at bringing together stakeholders to discuss strategies and innovative approaches to enhance literacy rates in Nigeria.
Yes, quality of knowledge for adults and youth literacy, heightened, a renewed call, for literacy, increased literacy, amongst youth, and of course formal and non-formal, non-formal education sector. I just feel like, like that Simon Akpama was saying that there's not much support or collaboration within government and other stakeholders, to improve that subsector within the education, the education ecosystem. I think that it's a worrisome development. I mean, I have seen some adults who actually can't communicate very clearly. You understand? And if given the opportunity, that this person would have made a difference. But we can't have an uneducated society. A society that is uneducated is a society that's not going anywhere in a hurry.
I agree with you, and that's why, so when it comes to quality of education, quality of knowledge for adults, I think it needs to be looked into. Like we need to be more intentional. We need to be very intentional about how we go about that, because what appears to be happening here is because it's adult education, maybe even the youth, but at some point they're not really our focus. They're just trying to catch up. There's some adults that don't read, so you have the very illiterate ones that are trying to get literate, then you have maybe the ones that want to further their education at some point in their life. So at every level there has to be the same dedication, the same excellence that we put, the same effort that we put in for education in general. So it's a good thing. It's all about awareness, calling the attention to people and the stakeholders, more importantly, as to what has to happen for there to be.
Because I mean, think about it. Someone who didn't have the opportunity to go to school, maybe for whatever reason, parents couldn't afford, or had to drop out, so the younger ones could be sent to school, and then gets to a point in life where he says, okay, you know what, I'm ready, to learn, at least to even be able to read and to write. Now the question is, do we have well-equipped adult education schools where these people can actually go to and learn? And so the call for quality of knowledge, and then again the certification that they receive. So this is the second phase of life. I didn't go to school in my younger days, but now I have the opportunity to go to school. I have a certificate. Can I use it?
In the labor markets, how valuable is it? How well will organizations accept it?
Exactly.
Yes, exactly, because knowledge is power. So increasing the, what's it called? What's that word? Yes, exactly. And the literacy in a country, I second what you said. It makes us move faster, forward faster, exactly. And because without literate people, you have lesser development, you have lesser unaware people about their rights. And then that is when you see things go bad and they do not even know their rights and they don't know how to complain, or the relevant authorities to even speak to. So,
or may even have an idea.
Yes, we even have ideas.
To help, but don't even know how to express.
I don't even know
so
who to
that's
speak
lost.
With. Yes. And some of them, and they don't really know how to speak fluent English. And now, that is a problem, communication, because surprisingly, English is now the universal accepted language. Anywhere, anybody that speaks English is educated. That's how they see you.
Oh yeah.
You speak English,
once you can speak English, you're educated.
Yes, you're educated.
It doesn't matter if you learn on YouTube.
I mean, like for some people who learned how to speak fluent English, through movies. I mean, I learned some of it, through movies.
Reading books.
Reading books and all of, even dictionaries, because I read dictionary, like as a kid growing up. So things like that, improving knowledge and literacy, and the certificate that comes after getting that knowledge. How credible is that? Does it hold water out there in the labor market? So things like this. So the call is necessary. Calling for the partnership, the collaboration, because government alone can't do some of these things. Exactly. That is why we have lots of, like in the outside world, and we have these people all, and they have public-private partnership. So that's the thing. So
I'm laughing. When you say government can't, do you know, some lecturers will tell you public, government can't, but they would. They will not. They do not want to. So that's a debate, that will continue to rage. But yes, the call is legitimate. It is timely, and it's something that everyone must jump on.
All right, let's move on. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, University of Ilorin chapter, has described the current administration of President Bola Tinubu as anti-labor government, considering the way and manner its operation has negatively affected the welfare of union members. The branch chairman of the union, Dr. Alex Akamu, gave the hint during a press conference and protest in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, to draw the attention of Nigerians to the vital demands of the union, which border on non-payment of outstanding earned allowances, withheld salaries, and reconstitution of the governing councils. Let's take a listen.
According to the ASU chairman, University of Ilorin chapter, the federal government is yet to pay the outstanding balance of 3.5 months of their withheld salaries, in spite of being captured in the 2023 budget, and the government continues to act unconcerned, a move the union calls a slave master attitude of government.
Barely a year ago, when the present administration was inaugurated, hopes were high on timely resolution of our demand and agitation. Given the pseudo-democratic roles played by some prominent elements now in government, true to nature, they acted contrary and have been more anti-labor in their operation. With joint efforts supplying from the understanding that we have a country to rescue, we assure you that we shall overcome.
Speaking on the state of the nation, ASU maintained that the current economic crisis in the country is gradually making everyone endangered species, as the issue has become hydra-headed, while the masses are suffocating and can no longer breathe.
But as soon as they got into power, they displayed in full the anti-labor nature in them. The rest is for us as a nation to read. It is not for us. They are not in our classroom. We are not going to mark. But they are in the public opinion court. It is unfortunate as we speak. Government is here to pay the outstanding balance of 3.5 months of our withheld salaries.
ASU, however, noted that the decline in the socio-economic lives of Nigerians is beginning to have a resultant effect on mental health of many, insisting that the way out is to ensure government is forced to do the right thing with workable policies.
Right. ASU at it again. Well, it won't be the first time, and I think this constant back and forth, now the non-academic staff union are also clamoring for the payment of their outstanding salaries, which was paid to their counterparts in the academic staff unions, and all of. There's just so much. My question is, are we going to let them go on strike again? And the implications that will cause, you know. What can I say? I mean, they've been at it for so long. You know, we're kind of numb to all those things because it's been going on for so long. And while their claims are legitimate and all of that, it has to be a compromise. You know, you give, you negotiate. They can't have everything. That is just the way it is.
Well, from the last meeting, you know, that was held within the federal government and some top membership of the union ASU, I mean, Tahir Maman was in attendance at that meeting. Sununu Tanko was also there. Emmanuel Oshodeke did say after the meeting that they were, you know, shelving the strike, they plan industrial action for now, and that their talks are ongoing, communication processes have been opened to resolve the differences, to ensure that, you know, all the issues are addressed. But then for me, my thought really is, federal government should, you committed to an agreement. Why don't you meet, you know, made up your own part of the bargain? I mean, ASU went on strike for 8.5 months, or almost 8 months, 7.5 months, going on 8 months, because of this same, you know, issues that were on ground. And you have not even addressed the issues. Now, ASU is dragging you left, right, and center for, and then Buhari comes up to say, you know what, no work, no pay. And I'm like, are you looking for solutions, or you want to further compound the issues on ground? What exactly are you doing? Because these people are upset already. You did not implement, and before they embarked on that strike, they did warn. They gave several warnings that they were going on strike. So you cannot say that they didn't work, they will not be paid. The one that they have worked, have you paid? The agreements that you entered, you did not even, you know, honor that agreement enough for them to say, okay, you know what? So while that is on the one hand, I have also said that, you know, ASU, strike actions never really solve it. For me, I have never seen strike action as a solution to a problem, because you will just go on strike, federal government will call you back, they will beg you, they will give you, you know, okay, you said 8 months, okay, we'll give you 2 months, go back to the classroom, don't worry, we'll make. And then 3-4 months down the road, you're coming back to the same thing. But, oh, guy, you promised me last month that you've not paid. You know, so it's a vicious circle. But I had a conversation with one lecturer, one associate professor from the university, from Delta State University of Technology, Science and Technology. And he did say that the only reason why ASU uses strike is like a pressure tool. That's the only way they get answers from the federal government. And so when they embark on a strike, federal government jumps up and then responds to them. Outside of strike, federal government doesn't respond to any of that. And then I said, but I think that, you know, you guys need to get creative, because at the end of the day, you embark on the strike action. What about the students? What happens to them?
That's always the question. The students, what happens to them? And you send them home to go and stay for a course that's supposed to be 4 years. You see them doing 5 years. I mean, when I was in school, I was a victim of I think 2 different strike actions.
Oh,
for a 4-year course. For a 4-year course, at least, I was a victim of 2 different strike actions. One was after my 100 level, then the other one was the one that came after the COVID-19. So that makes it 3. Then the one that came just, I think, immediately when I graduated. Yes, that strike, and that lasted them for, I think, 8 months. I think that's the one that you were talking about. And then, here's the problem. An agreement is an agreement. You know, there is a law that is supposed to guide agreements, right? Then I wonder, if an agreement is being breached, what are you doing about it? Or don't you trust our judicial system well enough?
Well, we will leave that for those who have an answer today. But you know, but of course, like you said, when you have an agreement, honor your agreement. I mean, let your word be your bond. Even if you don't have the complete resources to meet up with that agreement, but make an effort. Let your effort show that you're really committed, you know, to this agreement. Well, away from ASUU story, we are going all the way to Gambia now, where 193 home-trained engineers will graduate in the Gambia before the end of 2024. And the Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, Professor Pierre Gomez, says the first cohort of engineers will graduate from the University of Applied Sciences, Engineering and Technology, formerly called the Gambia Technical Training Institute, GTTI. Professor Gomez said this is the first time this will be happening in the history of the Gambia. He said the Gambian government entered into partnership with the Kwame Nkrumah University in Ghana to send lecturers, and another university in Leicester, England, to also send professors to teach entrepreneurship. He added that staff of the university have been sent abroad to study, and of course Nigeria also sent 11 professors and senior lecturers of engineering to the Gambia on a 2-year arrangement which is subject to extension. 7 professors and senior lecturers from Nigeria are expected to join them to bring the total to 18 professors and senior lecturers of engineering only from Nigeria. Nigeria is exporting knowledge to Gambia, and Gambia, you know, is proud to say that they are going to be graduating 193 homegrown engineers, you know, before the end of 2024. So, like we've always said, and like we've always known, and we've always said, and we'll continue to say, Nigeria is not for a lack of human resources, it's not for a lack of capacity that we cannot become. I mean, if we are going to be exporting like 18 lecturers, senior lecturers and professors to Gambia to go and train students in Gambian universities on engineering, even though people are coming from the US and from Ghana also. My concern is Nigeria. If we are exporting this knowledge, are we harnessing this knowledge enough back home to solve our challenges back home?
That's a concern, actually, because willpower is not the problem of an average Nigerian, because an average Nigerian is strong, is willing, is ready to do everything to make him survive. So willpower is not the problem. And now, for that same average Nigerian that has the knowledge, you know, that begs the question, what is the government doing to harness people like that and to keep them in the country, to add value to the country's development? It's not just sending them to Gambia to train students. I mean, that is, you know, it's good, it's actually commendable, yes, because we, the giants of Africa, we are playing Big Brother. Yes, we are playing Big Brother, and I think yesterday I saw them on the news of them commending Nigeria on the, I think, in the school feeding program. Yes, and so Nigeria is playing Big Brother to Africa because we're the giants. And so, but this begs the question: the government,
is it who in order?
Yes, the government, as they usually say, remove the speck in your eyes before you point to another person's own. You know, your engineers within your educational system in the universities, are they properly trained? Yes. What
They're
is
properly
the output?
motivated.
Yes, exactly. What is the output? Like, you graduate thousands of engineers every year. What have they contributed, or what have you done to make sure that those engineers in our federal government schools, even state-owned universities, what have they contributed? You know, this is always the general question.
That's a million-dollar
question.
Begging
really.
for answers.
But you know, I'm always for partnerships, collaborations you know, between countries. We've seen exchange programs of different kinds, you know, in education and all of that. The question I like to ask is, what have you put in place back home? You know, what have you put back? I mean, why are people leaving the country to go to other countries? Because they don't feel they have the right opportunities, or they don't have the jobs are not there. So everybody wants to travel to another African country or to some Western country where they can now begin to put what they've used, what they've learned rather, into good use, and you know, make another life for themselves. So I think that there are different aspects to all of this. As they're sending, you know, do they even want to come back? If they're coming back, is there a place for them to come back and help build the nation? Are you giving them that opportunity to even do that? Are they coming back disillusioned? Would they wish they had remained where they were? So these are now questions that come afterwards, you know. But as for the act itself, you know, sending professors from Nigeria to, you know, other African countries and vice versa, I think it's good.
Yeah, it's good for cultural exchange.
Yeah, so
basically
it's still the same thing. It's still the whole, can we do it? Yes, we can. Would we do it?
The Obama slogan.
Would we do it?
We'll think about it.
As good as mine. No, he says we'll think about it.
And get back to you.
Oh yeah.
Well, at this age, I don't think the government should be still thinking about development.
We hope that with all the many feathers in their caps, they would maybe one day wake up and do the needful. But
because favorable working environment is important. That is what keeps people, you know, ready. That's what gives them the willpower to continue.
Indeed.
That's what gives them the zeal, because you wake up and you thinking that, okay, yes, this is what I have to do, and I'm excited about it.
Indeed.
So I'm gonna do it. So let's take the next story, of course. So we have university to cut staff admits funding deficits. Now, the University of Northampton is offering a voluntary severance scheme to 500 staff to help it cope with the predicted 19.3 million euros deficit, adding that a drop in international student number is partly to blame. The institution said other factors were also involved, including raising pension costs and repayments on the new campus. The university added that the scheme was being offered with regret. You know, so they made a statement, and the statement read, one key factor in the deficit in the new rule, which I beg your pardon, which stops most international students from bringing their family members into the UK during studies, is partly to blame. This has resulted in 44% drop in the application for UK student visa. Now, this is a problem. This has been in the news of recent with the UK and the challenges of their funding. And I think in the last time it was the Birmingham County that was on the news talking about the funding, about how, and they also need private partnership and all of that. And now we have another university.
So what you said was right. They're basically depending on funding from foreign students.
Oh yeah, that's where they get them.
Wow.
Don't also
so now they're
forget
having
that.
to put this stuff on voluntary schemes. Like, can you volunteer?
So don't forget that, you know, after the COVID, the UK economy was decimated. I mean, then Boris Johnson was at the helms of affairs then. He started cutting down on everything: financial aids, foreign aids, education, all kinds of. to the point where pupils' lunch were affected. They couldn't afford it. That's how decimated the UK economy, was at the time, and of course they're bouncing back now. Because Nigeria had its own fair share of all kinds of troubles, don't forget that between Vichuku is laughing. Don't forget that between the year 2020, I think 22 till date, we've lost hundreds of thousands of lecturers, students, jackpying out of this country because of the economic situation and all that. And one of the tools that they could, take their family members out of the country was a dependent clause in their student visa package. And so until somebody blew the whistle on that scheme, and then the Home Office decided to cut down. The Home Office did say that from January 2024 that student visas would not accommodate dependents anymore. And so it's only when you're coming there to do your postgraduate studies, that's the only window that allows for dependents on that visa package. And so Nigerians have to look for options.
And we always will.
And the truth of the matter is, when we even talk about foreign students in universities, Nigeria makes one of the highest numbers in any foreign university. I mean, at the point there was a joke on social media that, UK has become, when you get into a classroom in a UK university, it's just like one classroom in a college in Lagos here, because of the volume of Nigerians. I mean, you scarcely find pale-colored people there, all melanin popping, in the classrooms. And so that Nigerians were, overrunning their systems back then, so they had to bring down the number of, and Rishi Sunak's government has been big on cutting down, even though he says illegal migration, but we do know that the truth is migration in every sense of the word. So they've been trying to cut them because they've also been hard hit, and they're trying to recoup whatever they can. And so you find that, but what they also didn't factor in was of the sheer volume of the resources
they didn't think about
we're going to bring to your coffers. Forgetting that,
they thought they were doing.
But then the truth is, that dependent visa wasn't just limited to Nigeria. Indians also would go there. So it was a blanket thing that covered everybody. And so all of a sudden, especially for Nigerians who wanted to just get out, okay, so UK don't want us anymore. I mean, let's go to the US, let's go to Cyprus, let's go to... But the rather sad part is, as much as they're finding opportunities elsewhere, the situation is not easy for them also, because with the Naira devaluation, the dollar increment and all of that, a lot of them has found it very difficult to pay fees. And so at the point, the UK, we were considering sending them back home or not allowing them graduate. That is a kettle of fish that is on the one hand.
Wow.
But you see, now the schools have suddenly realized that, have we not cut about our nose to spite our faces? Because, has been murdered.
Killed.
Murdered by government. And so how do we recoup on this? And so where it is a problem for Nigerians not to get into the UK, it has also become a huge problem for universities. I mean, you did mention the Birmingham County University that is also hard hit now because of the reduction in the numbers of students, and of course that also means money. So for them, the students, they are not, when foreign students apply, they are not seeing foreign students. I mean, they are seeing the pound signs that are coming with those students, and so they also had hit. So at the end of the day, it's just a whole kettle of fish that has, I mean, it has clownfish, it has goldfish, it has octopus, it has sharks, it has all kinds of fish right there in that pot, and then everybody's just struggling for survival. Catfish, trout, salmon, all kinds of fishes are just right in that kettle, and everybody's struggling to survive.
So what are they going to do?
It's still the hope.
I know.
Well, for now, they're offering a volunteer scheme. So if you were paid XYZ, maybe hundreds of thousands of pounds before, they'll now tell you we can no longer pay you, but would you like to stay on as a volunteer? That's tough. That's tough. For people who have families.
I mean, people have bills to pay. I mean, I have family and friends in the UK, and it's not beautiful. It's not as beautiful as it used to be. I mean, the UK is hard hit. And that's not even a joke. I mean, UK is recording high levels of inflation. UK is dealing with unemployment. UK is dealing with people who can't pay their bills, who can pay their homes. People are becoming homeless. All kinds of issues right now in the UK. So life is not as beautiful as it used to be. And so the government, Rishi Sunak's government, has a lot to deal with. And don't forget that they have elections coming up. I mean, recently I did see a survey where they were asking different people what do they want from the incoming government. Not Rishi Sunak. Don't also forget that Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, is also pushing, and Labour is looking very beautiful at the moment, looking like Labour is going to be the next party in the seat of government right now in the UK. And so surveys are going out, what do people want from the incoming UK government, and the demands for fixing of their, especially the education sector, all the cuts that have been made to different programs within the education sector, courses, feeding, teachers' pay, transportation, even the special needs students, where their transportation have been cut, buses that used to go and pick them from home, take them to schools and bring them back. All of those, different initiatives are being cut. So there's a lot of demands, especially from the education sector, a lot of demand, that they're putting out there. And I'm just wondering how the UK government, whichever government is going to come in, whether Labour or, Sunak's party, whether they're going to hold on to power or Labour is going to take over, we don't know yet. But they have their work clearly cut out for them, especially in the education sector, and that is a big stick that would make or mar polling results for whichever party is going to come into office right now.
So which actually shows that all these economic challenges are not just limited to Nigeria.
No, not at all.
So it shows that several countries as well have their own economic challenges, even though sometimes, and they don't just put it in the news so much, but every country has their own challenge. And it says that international students in that university account for 44%. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And now, then you have stopped on these people and to bring in and your family members with them. Now, that actually creates a problem.
It does create it. I
just hope it will be looked into, and the issue of the whole funding cut on the funding and everything in the education sector worldwide.
It will be looked into, hopefully. I mean, governments all around the world have their work cut out for them, and then, of course, so it's not just Nigeria, but all around the world, governments are battling with a lot. But this is what we have brought to you on the education sector. We brought you stories from across the world, Nigeria, Africa, and of course, the United Kingdom. We do hope that with these stories, especially if you're a student or you're a teacher, a lecturer, a student, an education stakeholder, we do hope that these stories have helped you make your decision for today. What do you want to do today? How do you want to help the education sector? What impact do you want to make? Are you an organization, an institution? What distance would you go for the sector globally? Would you bridge that gap in the education sector wherever you are? Several opportunities abound. Is it early education, basic, university, secondary, whatever it is, you have opportunities to make a difference, and that's what we've brought to you this morning. We do hope that our news has met you well. Well, that's the much we will be taking on Education Beat at this time. We will go for a very quick break. When we return, it would be the top of the hour. We would bring you some news updates. Join us again.
Ellen 24/7 is first of all a news station
Well, we continue with updates from the just concluded governorship
in the southeast has raised questions if INEC will be able to conduct elections.
With a core team of over 40 correspondents spread across Nigeria.
Nigeria is set to take its place.
The unions of aviation workers are out here protesting.
And affiliates in Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. We give you news as it breaks from the perspective you can trust.
LN 24/7 News, where the story goes, we go.
LN 24/7 lights up your day with unbeatable shows that guarantees absolute access to stories that revolves around politics, entertainment, and sports. Breaking news, plus detailed reports and analysis. At LN 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
Stay up to date with LN 24/7. LN 24/7. With news, politics, business, sports, and more on LN 24/7. Where the story goes, we go.
Well, it's great to have you back. Top of the hour, we are bringing you news updates, and our first story is located here in Nigeria, where the Security and Civil Defense Corps has announced plans to train 10,000 school principals across the country on personal security and school protection measures. The initiative was unveiled by the Corps Commandant General Ahmed Aoudi as contained in a statement signed by the NSCDC spokesperson Babawale Afolabi on Monday. The CG said the initiative aims to empower school leaders with the necessary skills and confidence to respond to security threats effectively, adding that the NSCDC has put comprehensive plans in place to ensure the program's success. The training offered at no cost will cover personal security, hostile environment awareness training, child protection skills, information management, emergency response, and first aid. Well, according to Abodurin, all of this, of course, is according to Abodurin.
In another development, the Lagos State government says plans have been concluded for the unveiling of a labor management information system to further tackle unemployment in the state. Faishara Ala Yande, the acting executive secretary of Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, said this at a media briefing on Monday in Lagos. She said the initiative would be inaugurated at the Lagos Employment Summit scheduled for July 3. The summit, according to her, is aimed at creating job opportunities and employment in the state to reduce the unemployment rate.
Well, still in the news, in Nigeria Customs Service says its operatives intercepted 9 containers carrying offensive items including arms, ammunition, illicit drugs and second-hand clothes worth 13.9 billion naira. The Comptroller General NCS Adewale Adeniyi disclosed this on Monday while addressing journalists in Onne Port, Rivers State. Adeniyi said one of the containers, which originated from Turkey, based on the number of risk factors associated with the importation, became the subject of interest to the service after the importer tried to circumvent the procedure through the outlet of a private bonded terminal. The NCS boss stated that the duty paid value of the container was 4.2 billion naira, adding that 3 suspects were arrested in connection with the seizures after securing a detention warrant from a competent court of justice.
Well, our next story takes us to Enugu in the country's southeast, where about 100 shops have been shut down by the National Agency for Food, Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, for alleged selling of suspended fake alcoholic beverages. The agency also confiscated a truckload of adulterated products, as well as effected the arrest of 4 suspected traders in the process of a well-coordinated raid. Speaking after the raid and arrest, NAFDAC's Director, Southeast Zone, Martins Iluyomade, said on Monday that the suspects were already in custody and would be charged to court after ongoing investigation. He noted that the raid was in furtherance to NAFDAC's mandate to safeguard the health of the nation and ridding the Southeast of unwholesome, substandard, fake and adulterated products. The NAFDAC zonal boss said the intensive operation was with active collaboration with the police, Department of State Services and the Nigerian Army, which deployed their personnel for the purpose of the well-coordinated raid.
And our next story takes us to Kano, where Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed the fundamental human rights suit filed by the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, against the federal government. Kanu in the suit is seeking 1 billion naira in damages from the Attorney General of the Federation and the Department of State Services for alleged right violation. Kanu in the suit claimed that the DSS and its Director General violated his rights to a fair hearing by allegedly preventing his lawyers from having unhindered interactions with him in preparation for his defense in his criminal trial. Omotosho, while delivering a judgment on the suit, held that Kanu failed to provide credible evidence to sustain his claims that his interactions with his lawyers were interfered with, that he was denied unhindered access to his lawyers, and that the DSS officials eavesdropped on his conversations with his lawyers, which constituted a breach of his right to a fair hearing.
And moving on to elsewhere in Africa, Mauritania's incumbent President Mohamed Ould Sheikh El Ghazouani has comfortably won re-election with 56.12% of the vote, according to the Independent National Electoral Commission on Monday. The victory gives the former army chief a second term as head of the vast desert country, seen as a rock of relative stability in Africa's volatile Sahel region and set to become a gas producer. Meanwhile, Ghazouani's main rival, Biram Dah Abeid, who won 22.10% of the votes, said he would not recognize the results of Seni, which he accused of being manipulated by the government.
Well, the president of the ECOWAS Court of Justice, Edward Asante, has called on the ECOWAS Parliament to ensure that Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger rescind their threat to exit the bloc. Justice Asante stated this in a goodwill message at the formal opening of the first 2024 ordinary session of the 6th ECOWAS Parliament on Monday in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Now, local media reports that the 3 Sahel countries officially communicated their decision to quit ECOWAS earlier in January after they were hit with sanctions over military takeovers. Asante said he was aware that the parliament had been engaging high-level officials of those states through its members to ensure their return to ECOWAS. He described the effort as a noble initiative that the parliament should be commended for and which should be sustained under the 6th legislature.
And lastly, for our news updates at this time, about 50 Palestinian prisoners arrested during the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine have been released on Monday, including the director of Gaza's largest hospital, Al-Shifa Hospital. An Israeli security official stated that the prisoners were released from various Israeli facilities, including the military detention camp of Dei Taiman in the south, where many Palestinians arrested during the ongoing conflict were held. The official noted that the release was part of an effort to reduce the number of detainees in Dei Taiman, which is running out of space. That's it.
Zoe, the war between Israel and Hamas just continues to rage on with so many casualties on both sides, and we're just hoping and praying, you know, this time that conflict would come to an end, even also the one ongoing in Ukraine between Russia and its Ukrainian counterpart. But that's where we draw the curtain on news now. News update for this time, and of course the first segment of the morning show, where Zoe and I do hope that we did justice to a lot of stories that we did bring to you in education, on the front burner, all kinds of stories that we brought to you this morning. We do hope that we made your day in that sense. Zoe, it's been beautiful doing this with you. It's great to be back.
Yes, all right, just stay tuned because the morning show now continues with developing stories in a moment. Stay tuned.
Stay up to date with LN 24/7. LN 24/7. With news, politics, business, sports, and more on LN 24/7. Where the story goes, we go.
At LN 24/7 Sports, football just got better. For the fans. For loyalty. For the tackles.
A near supernatural goal from Lionel Messi.
For the celebrations. For the goals. For the love of the game.
Ellen 24/7 is first of all a news station.
We'll continue with updates from the just concluded governorship
in the southeast has raised questions if INEC will be able to conduct elections.
With a core team of over 40 correspondents spread across Nigeria.
Nigeria is set to take its place.
The unions of aviation workers are out here protesting.
And affiliates in Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. We give you news as it breaks from the perspective you can trust.
Ellen 24/7 News, where the story goes, we go.
What makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues? Order. The tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension. The instability of the system. Join Ellen 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
Apologize for saying that I'm corrupt. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
Watch politics now on Ellen 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on Ellen 24/7.
girls Meteorite, and yeah.
There she was. This was the bike that I was going to use the following day on the cyclotron, club ride, or media ride. We were invited to this media ride. Of course, I needed a bicycle, and so I got one. We visited a bicycle and accessory shop at Maryland, Lagos, which is owned by Hafiz Bakare, a professional cycler with several awards to his name. Of course, for us to be able to ride along with the club, I needed to be sure that I could ride the bike well. Now, keep in mind, I haven't ridden a bike since I was a kid, so I needed a lot of practice to see if I still had it in me to ride along the following day. Now, it was a bit wobbly at first, but in a short while, I was back in charge.
So, bye. Bye.
So very early on Saturday, we met up with the club, Cyclotron, just about to leave the hotel, which was their meeting point. Of course, I wasn't going to ride along with them because they've been doing it, they were more proficient at it, so I just took my time riding, with Hafiz being so kind as to ride with me. Cycling is mainly an aerobic activity, which means that your heart, blood vessels and lungs all get a workout. You will breathe deeper, perspire and experience increased body temperature, which will improve your overall fitness level. This can help protect from serious diseases such as obesity, heart disease, cancer, mental illness, diabetes and arthritis, reducing the risk of health problems associated with a sedentary lifestyle. Many of the cyclists said the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown has led them to seek this means of staying healthy.
I've been looking to ride for about 3 or 4 years before now, and I decided to buy my bike in August. It's been great. I still remember my first ride very clearly, but now I think I've grown, and with the community, even beyond the club, it has been really great. I have met with different people. I have lost some weight. I feel fit. I sleep better. And to date, I think my longest ride has been 82 kilometers, but I'm looking forward to a Centurion ride. But it's been really nice. I find it's a really good, safe place for everybody at themselves. You ride at your own ability. You can't deceive yourself. It's just you and your bike, you know. And you continue to go through more strides, you know, challenging yourself and with your group as well.
April 14th last year, because of the lockdown, I was adding weight, and naturally I'm a very restless person, so not having anything to do. So I look at it, what should I do? Oh, I love to ride, to learn how to ride a bike. So I call a coach on my street, and today I ride with Group C. I could do up to 25-30 kilometers per hour, and I've done my Grand Fondo in January, 103 kilometers in a single ride. I love it. Look at me. Just look at me. I look good. I look fit.
Every day to class and back, right? And which was years ago, like 13, 14 years ago.
One thing I always say is anybody who's going to wear lycra on the streets of Lagos and ride a bicycle is not normal, right? So we're a bunch of weird people who like to relive our youthful exuberance on the road, and we do it
leaving the house in one piece and going home in one piece with a big smile on our face.
At 61, it gives you an edge over your peer group. So I mean, I can do many things that most of my age group can't do right now. So that's the beauty of it. Keeps you healthy, keeps you in shape, keeps you informed.
Cyclists, the pedestrian, the bus driver, we're all struggling for a small size of the road. So we all, so of course we need the government to see if they can do a lot more when it comes to cycle lanes, when it comes to creating space or leaving some gap for runners and for walkers, because things are changing. Everyone wants to exercise.
Cycling is an incredible sociable sport, and so joining a cycling club or group Ellen 24/7 is first of all a news station.
We'll continue with updates from the just concluded governorship
in the southeast has raised questions if INEC will be able to conduct elections.
With a core team of over 40 correspondents spread across Nigeria.
Nigeria is set to take its place.
The unions of aviation workers are out here protesting.
And affiliates in Africa, Europe, America, and Asia. We give you news as it breaks from the perspective you can trust.
Ellen 24/7 News, where the story goes, we go.
Ellen 24/7 lights up your day with unbeatable shows that guarantees absolute access to stories that revolves around politics, entertainment, and sports. Breaking news, plus detailed reports and analysis. At Ellen 24/7, where the story goes, we go.
What makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues? Order. The tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension. The instability of the system. Join Ellen 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
Apologize for saying that I'm corrupt. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
Watch politics now on Ellen 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on Ellen 24/7.
It's another beautiful day, and you've been watching This Morning on LN 24/7, and it's time for Developing Stories. I am with Zubi. I call him Zubi. Zubi Chukwanodo.
Yes, of course. It's amazing to be here.
It's amazing to have you here.
Yes, you know.
Okay, so let's get on with today's Developer Stories. Anyways, well, I hope you've been having a good time on This Morning today as we've been discussing education, right? Education.
Yes.
So much is happening in the educational sector
you know.
in the country. And the student loan, have they finally approved it?
Yes, yes.
Because,
yes,
you know, it's been back and forth. They've been, pushing forward the time for...
No, it's actually been approved,
disbursement.
Yes, it's been approved.
But the last time we talked about that, they said state governments didn't submit the data of students for them to be able to reach these loans.
Yes, of course, but that does not mean that the loan hasn't yet started, and they are
can students actually
there is
gain
a
access
structure,
to this
according to them, there's a structure, and according to the chairman of NELSO, he said that every student that's supposed to get this loan would get. So let us just.
But I do hope students get this loan, because it's been a long time coming, and a lot of students are going through so much with the increase of fees and everything. So much is happening in that education sector. Anyways, today on Developing Stories, the Nigeria Customs Service has intercepted a container laden with rifles and ammunition with a duty, I beg your pardon, let me go over that story again. Alright, the Nigerian Customs Service has intercepted 844 units of rifles headed for Rivers State. And of course, we're still talking about insecurity in Nigeria, and intercepting this amount of rifles, especially when we're discussing insecurity, it's a whole lot. It's so much happening in the security aspect of the nation.
Like an emphasis on the word intercepting. So which means these are not, like ammunitions and the police use or for the army use, and these are actually banditry ammunitions. If I'm
all right, let's move on with that. Of course, the ammunition, a container laden with rifles and ammunition was intercepted by the Nigeria Customs Service with a duty paid value of more than 4 billion naira. The Comptroller General Nigeria Customs Service, Bashir Adeniyi, has narrated how 844 units of assorted rifles, 112,500 pieces of live ammunition, among other contraband, were intercepted at the One Port, River State, South Nigeria. Mr. Adeniyi narrated this on Monday at a media briefing at One Area 2 Command, organized to declare the seized items and hand them over to appropriate authorities. Let's take a listen to him. I was hoping to bring you that particular video, talking about the 844 units of rifles that headed to, that was, intercepted in the Rivers One Port. Zubi, like I was saying, like we were talking about insecurity in Nigeria. This is at a time when, anyways, so many people have blamed this on the particular clash going on in River State between the ex-governor and the state governor. A lot of mobilization has been going on, and we've seen how young people have been used to perpetrate all sort of insecurity issues in that particular state. Well, I don't know. So people are attributing this particular interception to maybe the insecurity that is going on, or the clash that is going on in that particular state. But it is really a sad thing. We don't know whether this particular rifles were bound to just stay there in Rivers, or it was meant to circulate in the whole Nigeria. Seeing the spate of insecurity that has been happening in Nigeria that we have actually not dealt with at this time?
You know, seeing things like this on the news, it actually raises so many questions, you know, for a lot of Nigerians. Now, we're talking about insecurity, we're talking about banditry, we are even, and of recent, we just had suicide bombers, you know, like in the news. These are problems, and now, these rifles are not cheap. It's funds that are being used to purchase.
A duty charge of over 4 billion naira. People are investing in guns to cause insecurity.
And now, there is no way you can tell me now, and with the word and that they use intercepted, that these rifles are to be used by our armed forces. No, because that word intercepted, it means they were being smuggled. Yes, so it's a smuggling that has been intercepted to be used for either banditry or for terrorism. And now, we are intercepting a lot. I mean, how many?
844 rifles in one at one go. And we don't even know how many of those passed through successfully. This is just one of them.
Exactly. You know, so do they want to use these and to fuel more of the crisis? And I mean, this is a lot of money, and it's not an average Nigerian that will spend so much money on this, on ammunition. So this still begs the question: are our political leaders completely involved in the crisis going on in our country, or like is it just, you know, like a way and to just kick against like the government, or like are they trying to instill more crisis?
Well, anyways, we're not totally sure if it's a politician that is sponsoring this, but whoever is involved in the insecurity in Nigeria,
someone with power.
It's someone with power.
That much money.
Exactly. That
Let's call a spade a spade.
No poor man, no regular Nigerian would invest in so much arms to smuggle it into Nigeria. To do what exactly? Is it to aid and abet insecurity?
It's for police and thief. I mean, the game we used to play back then when we were kids. It's for police and thief. Because I mean, it's actually appalling, and that in a country and that we are pushing for development, we have and the Labour still talking with the federal government on the minimum wage and all of that, and we still having the loan scheme, and that the federal government is still trying to implement successfully. And because the launching of the scheme is one thing, and a complete implementation is completely different. So that's why I said they are still trying to successfully implement that. We have several problems. We have food insecurity, and I mean
there's so much challenge happening in the country right now. This particular you know, interception, it tells a lot about what is really happening in the country. It tells a whole lot. You know, I still maintain that we don't know how many pass through. Let's open the phone lines. We'd like you to call and let us know what you think about this particular story, this particular news of the interception of 844 units of rifle. I still maintain we do not know how many pass through. This is just one container that was intercepted. One container containing 844. That, you know, imagine arming 844 persons to cause insecurity in a place. Imagine that. Just imagine 800 with ammunition. That when we talk about farmer herders crisis, every day we talk about people that are being killed in the northern parts of Nigeria. We talk about people dying, people that are supposed to provide. We're dealing with food insecurity, and we talk about people that are supposed to plant, people that are supposed to farm for the country to be able to you know, have enough food. These could be used for those particular clash. In fact, it has gone past the farmer-herders clash. Let's call it what it is. It is terrorism. The other day we saw suicide bombers blowing themselves up, and the other people that were intercepted. A lot is going on in insecurity, and we're not seeing in the news how the federal government is, you know,
tackling
it head on with all amount of seriousness. In fact, if we can even invest the amount of seriousness we are putting to acquiring a private jet for the president into tackling insecurity, maybe we would have dealt with the insecurity issue in this country. If we can just invest such amount of seriousness we have put in this recent time in buying a private jet for the president.
Let's not even go too far. Let's not even go too far and say private jet. If they invested the amount of time that he used to pass this old national anthem through the house straight. If that amount of time is being invested in tackling the level of insecurity and other insecurity challenges in Nigeria, either food or all of this, Nigeria would actually move a step forward, you know. So I was having a conversation with a friend over on the weekend, and he said that Nigeria is literally not moving forward, in his words. I mean, I quote in his words. He said, Nigeria is not moving forward. They are not even stagnant. That with the situation of the country, Nigeria is moving backwards. And I felt bad.
Well,
as a
Yemi Cardoso
citizen.
would disagree with you because we've been talking about economic success.
I mean, not with me, with my friends, because this is.
Yes. I'm just saying that the central bank governor is going to disagree with you because he's been saying that Nigeria has been successful economically. We've made so much progress, and they've been declaring all sorts of figures.
Really?
You know, states.
And we still have companies living in Nigeria. I mean, just the other day, yes, I saw like on the news, and that Microsoft, the Lagos office, are shut down.
Well, then again, people are losing their jobs, and we're
losing their jobs, and you're saying that we are really moving forward. Well,
let's move forward with the conversation now. Speaking during the flag off of the construction of the Mabushi bus terminal in Abuja, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has lashed out at the senator representing the territory, Ireti Hiba Kingibe. Wike said Kingibe would lose the support of FCT residents in the next election. He challenged Kingibe to contest in the 2027 elections, insisting that she would fail woefully. According to Wike, what happened in the last election that brought Kingibe into power would not repeat itself, stressing that FCT is now his territory and is not afraid. Take a listen to Wike.
If you don't want that, I'm going to transformer. Yes. If you're angry, well, hang yourself. If I've done well, well done well. If I've not done well, well not done well. And we're proud to say, in this short time Mr. President appointed us, that we have done well. He said there are no schools. He said there are no hospitals. You as a legislator, what have you done? How many bills have you sponsored for us to improve our education and our health sector? How many? I challenge that legislator, if you are very, very popular, 2027, come and run on Abuja, we will fail you. You think that what happened last time will happen again? You think so? It will not happen again. If you are popular, come and run. Luckily for me, I'm just a minister now. So that's my territory. I'm not afraid. So people should come out and be able to accept the truth. We are not begging for anybody to be our friends. We have so many friends that we cannot even carry along. So how can we go and beg people to be our friends again? We're not interested in that. So if you are angry that people are praising us, wait. But next year, your BP level will be going very high. Because the praises you will see will be too much. So I thank all of you.
That's the FCT minister there blowing steam at the senator representing the FCT, mocking the senator and actually saying, in fact, daring the senator to come out and contest in 2027. But one thing that is interesting in this whole thing is that all this was said at the flag off of the construction of a bus terminal. A bus terminal. People would think, you should be constructing trains. We should have moved fast. But then, bus terminal that is regular. everybody should have bus terminal line. It's not like it's an elephant project he's trying to construct. You know, at the bus terminal line, you are actually taking that opportunity to mark a sitting senator representing. And you know, the audacity that is being that Wike always exude when talking like this is what amazes us Nigerians, because you know, the last time in River State, Wike said that, you know, he regrets actually working the present River State governor into power. He regrets ever presenting him as if the votes of River State people do not matter, as if the votes of electorates do not matter. You know, that is how politicians play down on the rights and the votes or the importance of electorates. It's like, okay, if these guys don't come out to vote, any which way would win the election, because he's actually daring the senator, saying what happened that brought you into office the last time would not repeat itself, as if you have everything in plan or everything in place for you to foil whatever effort she's trying to make to contest. Well, that means she shouldn't even try to contest. That means you have kept things, machineries in place. Yes. That means a whole lot, because a lot of people can read so much meaning to this particular statement. So much meaning can be read. Are you trying to? Are you saying you're going to mar the elections? Are you saying you're going to do everything? When a person talks like this, with all brazen effrontery, it means there's a plan in place. And I don't know. We're still talking about how to you know, have good governance. We're still talking about, as an FCT minister, you have a lot for you to do in that place, and all you go around is to spite people, spiting people in River State, now in the FCT. I mean, we've seen how Sim Fubara stood his grounds recently, and that particular structure that Wike has been talking about ever since, grassroots structure, it's like Fubara is taking over those structure. Well, anyways, whether legally or illegally, we're here to just report the news. But then, the audacity of Nyesom Wike.
Wike. 3 times I called. A lot of Nigerians have called him several names, you know, such as, you know, Point One, Capone, 001, you know, based on and the way he talks and the audacity that he uses and to say some things, you know, like about some people. And the problem that I had with his particular statement was where he said, FCT now is my territory. I am not afraid.
Claiming ownership.
I'm telling you, it's like no other person is good enough to acquire this position ever. It's my territory, it's my territory.
Well, he's been loyal to a president that said it's his turn to be president. So if you have that kind of person, you would definitely produce a Wike that's claiming territory. I'm not saying you know, loyalty is bad, but I mean, a follower would only do as much as his leader.
But it still begs the question, you know, are the votes of Nigerians, do they really count? Based on what he said. He said what happened the last election wouldn't repeat itself, which means, you know, just to confirm what you said, which means he has, you know, machineries or like mechanisms that he has set in place to avoid something like that.
I didn't say he has machineries.
No,
I'm just saying, if the person can have the audacity to talk like this, meaning that there are plans in place for you to foil whatever way or whatever means that person is trying, or foil our efforts.
But it still begs the question, do the votes count? He still said he regrets putting Fubara in power. Is he saying he single-handedly put him
Godfatherism?
Godfatherism, you know. That is actually something that is not new in our political system in the country.
But is it the way forward?
That's not the way forward. Is it something to boast about? That's not something to boast about, because I can remember at the last election, especially the governorship election here in Lagos, I mean, I was on the scene, you know, of the election, like I was on the field, I mean, like of the whole process, and then there were some results that personally I used my eyes to see. But when it
you
was
log online, you
called out,
you log into the
yes,
no, not even called out.
You log into the portal,
you see something different.
My polling unit, and all of that, you see a different thing.
In my polling unit,
you're wondering
during the election, we saw a result being called out. But when I logged into the IREV portal,
yes,
guess what? I saw another result. In fact, the House of Representative result was what was used to be placed in the space where the presidential election results should come out. So there were mix-ups. Some people were opening their portal and seeing different people's picture.
They call this mix-up?
Well, they said it was a glitch.
Well, they said it was a glitch.
INEC said it was a glitch, so let's hold on to that.
Okay.
Well, we hope those glitches will not happen.
Let's not peel up old wounds.
Yeah. The election has come and gone.
Yes.
But moving forward, because just imagine what Wike said recently, just in that particular video. It means there are strategies in place for there are strategies, or that people could assume from that video that there are plans in place to thwart their efforts, to thwart their votes, to thwart their decisions, their decision to bring anybody in power, their decision to vote, their right,
fundamental rights
to vote people into power. So,
yes,
FCT minister, and I heard somebody say, "Do you want to repeat what happened in River State?" Because we saw what happened in River State. In fact, it's not everything. We will talk about a lot, but sometimes not everything you see, because they'll tell you to provide evidence. But there were a lot of evidence during the last election about what was happening in River State. In fact, we had to wait. Everybody had submitted the results for their states. We had to wait for River State to come in with the last. A lot of things happened during that election, and people are asking questions. When the minister of the FCT goes ahead to talk like this, are we trying to see another incident? That what happened in River State in the FCT come 2027 election? Because you cannot talk, I repeat, you cannot talk with so much audacity like this if there are no plans in place and machineries in place.
Exactly, and because for someone to
do something
so
that
would
change the vote.
A lot of confidence. I mean, he spoke with confidence, like a lot. So
for a place that even the sitting president right now never won, the FCT, the sitting president right now never won the FCT. It was a struggle. Never won is Aso Villa. Never did. And you're saying that particular structure, that particular state, especially the Kingibe is a Labour Party member.
Yeah.
She represents the Labour Party. And you're saying that the Labour Party would not win the FCT. 2027, we're still waiting to see. Because a lot of people have been talking. In fact, the president said one time that the Labour unions are, should wait for their turn. When it's 2027.
So what you're saying is that our democracy now is now turn by turn. It's not democracy anymore. It's now political appointment.
There's a saying out there in Pidgin English saying, "Now you talk on." Anyway, that's how far we can come on developing story. Zubeshiku, it's been an interesting discussion with you.
It's been amazing.
Of course, and I'm sure you've enjoyed the whole morning flight ride, and we've taken you through a whole lot, especially from education into state of the nation, into politics, and all of that. And do join us again, same time tomorrow, as we bring you more of this.
More of this.
Thank you very much, Njube. All right, until we come your way again next time, bye for now.
Bye for now.
Stay up to date with LN 24/7. LN 24/7. With news, politics, business, sports, and more on LN 24/7. Where the story goes, we go.